Hi everyone, my name is Tara Gupta Mohan and I'm presenting from Bangalore, India. Today, I will be talking about the role of hormonal aberrations in the etiology of polycystic ovary syndrome, or PCOS. The hormones I'll be exploring in my project are androgens and insulin. As a person with PCOS themselves, I was immediately drawn to this topic, curious about what causes this syndrome and how it affects millions of girls around the world. So PCOS is a multifactorial disorder which is yet to have a definitive etiology, but stems from the imbalance of hormones such as luteinizing hormone or LH, follicle stimulating hormone or FSH, androgens, and insulin. This study focuses on the mechanisms of insulin and androgens that lead to insulin resistance, compensatory hyperinsulinemia, and hyperandrogenism, and its effect on the female reproductive system. The study aims to determine which of the two hormones plays a driving factor in the etiology of PCOS. It is vital to understand these mechanisms in order to diagnose this disorder and provide treatment more effectively. Data from the World Health Organization states that this syndrome affects 116 million women worldwide, causing infertility, cystic ovaries, obesity, hair loss, acne, skin tags, and more. So let me provide you with a little bit of a background before we get started. Follicles are the functional unit of ovaries. They're responsible for hormone production as well as the formation of a mature egg, which has the potential to get fertilized. Follicles move through multiple developmental stages, starting from the primordial follicle until it fully develops into a mature egg through a process known as folliculogenesis. Females are born with approximately 2 million primordial follicles, decreasing to around 500,000 when puberty begins. Once menstruation starts, the ovaries lose roughly 1,000 primordial follicles per month. As the follicle goes through different stages of development, it forms an antral follicle, which is prepared to be released for reproduction. In non-PCOS women, only a single egg is released per month during the menstrual cycle. So what's different in PCOS? In PCOS, which is a reproductive disorder present in 4 to 8% of premenopausal women, folliculogenesis is aberrant, leading to disruptions in the production of hormones as well as multiple antral follicles being released at once. These follicles then develop into multiple cysts that can be observed on ultrasound, a characteristic feature of the syndrome. So why is this a problem? PCOS women lose more follicles per month compared to women without PCOS, contributing to the increased rates of fertility in women with PCOS. Since females are born with a finite pool of primordial follicles that are eventually recruited and developed into mature eggs, losing a larger proportion of these follicles leads to infertility as they cannot be replenished. Additionally, PCOS is characterized by oligoovulation and anovulation, androgen excess, and polycystic ovaries. Oligoovulation is the irregularity of menstrual cycles, and anovulation is the lack of menstrual cycles. The excess of androgens such as testosterone, androstenedione, and DHEA manifests as hirsutism and hyperandrogenism. Hirsutism is characterized by the growth of hair on the upper lip, chin, shoulders, the sides of the face, upper back, and upper abdomen of women. Other clinical features of hyperandrogenism include acne, androgenic alopecia, acanthosis nigricans, weight gain, and menstrual irregularities. According to the Rotterdam criteria, polycystic ovaries are described as the presence of 12 or more follicles in each ovary, measuring between 2 to 9 millimeters in diameter, and an increased ovarian volume of greater than 10 milliliters. So studies show that women with PCOS experience a 35% to 40% decrease in insulin sensitivity compared to matched control women, leading to a majority of PCOS women having insulin resistance. In order to compensate for the decrease in insulin sensitivity due to insulin resistance, pancreatic beta cells produce an excess of insulin to maintain lipid and carbohydrate homeostasis, leading to hyperinsulinemia. So how does insulin cause an androgen excess? High levels of insulin decrease the liver's production of sex hormone binding globulin, SHBG. SHBG binds with circulating steroid hormones such as testosterone, therefore regulating free testosterone levels. As SHBG levels decrease, the levels of free testosterone increase. Insulin also acts as a gonadotropin, producing LH, which successfully leads to the synthesis of androgen in theca cells. An increase in LH in response to infusions of insulin have been observed in vitro, which leads to the synthesis of androgen. This was observed by euglycemic clamp studies, where the insulin led to a rise in androgen levels without modifying gonadotropin secretion, indicating an effect on steroidogenesis. Hyperandrogenism. Hyperandrogenism has a prevalence greater than 60% in PCOS women. The production of androgens is initiated in theca cells of the follicle after stimulation by LH, triggering the synthesis of DHEA and androstenedione. In women without PCOS, a large proportion of this is converted into estrogen by granulosa cells of the follicle, but ovarian follicles also secrete testosterone and androstenedione as well. Hyperandrogenism is caused by disruption of standard adrenal and ovarian processes, leading to a production of excess androgens. An increase in androgen levels leads to a decrease in adiponectin secreted by adipocytes, having a direct effect on insulin sensitivity. Androgens can cause insulin resistance by altering the function and structure of skeletal muscle tissue, which decreases type 1 muscle fibers that are sensitive to insulin and increases type 2 muscle fibers that are less sensitive. So, conclusion. It can be concluded that between the two hormonal mechanisms, insulin resistance is a more common factor of PCOS compared to hyperandrogenism. The prevalence of insulin resistance in people with obese PCOS, which is higher than average BMI values, is 70 to 95%. And in people with lean PCOS, which is people with normal or lower than average BMI values, was 30 to 75%, while the prevalence of hyperandrogenism in people with PCOS is approximately 60%. Despite insulin being the more frequent factor, it can be argued that hyperandrogenism is the driving factor of PCOS. While insulin sensitivity can lead to the pathogenesis of PCOS, there are women with the syndrome who are not insulin resistant or hyperinsulinemic whatsoever. Excess androgens stimulate the activation of primordial follicles, which ultimately result in the formation of the cyst-like structures, which are a key factor in the diagnosis of PCOS. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.